Hey everybody, this is part 2 to my last video about targeted individuals, and I just want to let you know this is the wrong time of the day for me to do a video, but I had to fit it in because I have an interview tonight on the Typical Skeptic podcast. So you're going to hear a lot of thuds, you're going to hear a lot of noise, and I'm going to have difficulty concentrating. But let's try this anyway. I wanted to point out my shirt. I bought this 22 years ago in Rachel, Nevada. I think it came from the Little Alley Inn, or it came from the UFO ET Museum in Rachel, Nevada, which was at that time was a single wide trailer, and Rachel, Nevada was probably about 8 or 10 trailers parked together in a little tiny trailer park with a restaurant in the middle of a vast desert, which was absolutely empty. Just rocks and dirt and so forth, but it was an awesome experience, by the way. So if you haven't been there, please check it out. Okay, we're going to talk about, first topic that we're going to talk about is something called etheric implants and etheric implant reprogramming. Okay, first off, what is an etheric implant? Well, an etheric implant is an energy attachment. It's programmed energy that's attached to your soul as they incarnate you in these container bodies. Whether you're a starseed or you're a terrestrial soul, it doesn't matter. We all have an etheric implant. Now, there are psychics out there that can do etheric implant reprogramming to a limited level. And what they do is they do energy work on a person. They go in and they remove various blocks in their soul that may allow them to access past life memories. It may give them enhanced ESP capabilities. Whatever it may be, that's what they're doing. So they're simply reprogramming an implant. Now this implant, well, actually, that person's astral sight can be altered in any way it needs to be so that they do not see what they're working on as it truly is. So if you have a theological belief system and you're doing psychic work, you may see it in a theological light. If you're completely secular and you see it from an extraterrestrial perspective, you may actually see something that would look like what you would conceive or consider to be an implant. It really depends on what your extraterrestrial handlers want you to see, because we are in a planetary consciousness simulation, which is an augmented reality controlled by extraterrestrials, where they use transdimensional technology to limit us to our 5 senses, and they give us amnesia. So anyway, etheric implants or actually reprogramming etheric implant is the key to gaining your psychic abilities back as well as your past life memories. Unfortunately, U.S. military and other militaries around the world and black budget contractors can also do the same thing with their personnel, creating psychic super soldiers or enhanced psychic military personnel. These people are capable of carrying out psychic assassinations as well as psychic attacks on starseeds or other types of people that are political dissidents. This is done in conjunction with targeted energy systems. So, that's what etheric implants are. Now we're going to talk about psychic bridges first, or actually second. A psychic bridge is when 2 or more people are connected together through some medium. Now, for example, there are psychics out there that you can hire that will tell you that in order to do a soul reading, they need a picture of the person, or they need a picture of you. That creates a psychic bridge. More powerful psychics don't need a picture. They simply need a phone call or a social media post or anything really in that regard. They just need some form of communication with the person that they're working on. And that's what a psychic bridge is. And to further explain a psychic bridge a little bit more, if you take a look at how remote viewing is done, if you take a look at the military protocols, you would have someone assigning a target. That person does not tell the remote viewers what the target is. They have to work blind. And the purpose of that is that since the psychic signal is so weak because of the planetary consciousness simulation, which blocks our psychic abilities, they need to enhance their sensitivity to the weak psychic signal by blocking out their imagination or their conscious or the really the conscious part of their brain or mind, and then open up and become a receiver to the collective subconscious. When the person who assigns the target, and when they assign that target to the remote viewer, that is creating a psychic bridge. So I just want you to keep these two terms in your mind while I explain how the Defense Intelligence Agency and their contractors are able to program a supercomputer to target people. So if you're a targeted individual, you'll know that you could be sitting on a couch with two people on each side of you and have a child on your lap and be hit with targeted energy and no one else feels it but you. You could be in a group huddled together. In fact, you could be on the bottom of a pile of bodies. You could have 10 people piled up on top of you and still get hit with targeted energy, and nobody but you will feel it. Now, the reason that is because they can target your energy body, your soul. It's your consciousness matrix. And your DNA does have a resonant frequency that's identical to your soul frequency. So there is a connection between your soul and your DNA, obviously, but it's not direct. But your DNA has nothing to do with you being psychic. And just to go back to what I was saying, animals are psychic, and they're much more primitive than we are as far as their conscious awareness. Now, if you read the Book of One and you follow that stuff, which is mostly false, you'll hear about densities. And they talk about animals being second density and people being third density and planets being first density. Well, if second density animals are more psychic than third density humans, then Ra, the god that was channeled to provide that information, is a liar. So we're going to get into that in future videos on how channelers have been fed a false bill of goods for a very long time. So anyway, that is what a psychic bridge is. Essentially, it is a subconscious connection between two or more people. Now, how the NSA, or not the NSA, but how the DIA and their military contractors and psychic soldiers target people with directed energy is by interfacing their mind with a supercomputer. Now, this doesn't require an implant. We're well beyond that technology. It doesn't require a headband or a helmet for that person to interface with a supercomputer, because the supercomputer already has their energy soul matrix signature programmed into the system. Okay, now I'm going to give you an example of how this works, and we're going to call subject A Mr. Smith. Now, Mr. Smith has been a long-term member of Project Avalon. He's been posting about his ET contact. He's also done some YouTube videos. He's made a nuisance of himself to the NSA, and they found him through one of their fishing expeditions. So now they've opened up a file on Mr. Smith, and he's become a person of interest. So at some point, he does something that pushes the limit. He crosses the line with the federal government, and they want to get rid of him. They want to hit him with directed energy. They want to kill him because he's an influential starseed and a threat to the world. He's a threat to the New World Order, which means he's a threat to international security, because we're no longer in Kansas anymore, folks. We're in the end times New World Order. So how do they target Mr. Smith? Well, you can't just send a beam and hit Mr. Smith, because that's not how this system works. The way this works is that the psychically adept or enhanced super soldier, or psychically enhanced military black budget contractor, will sit down and interface their consciousness with a supercomputer. They are then given a list of targets. So Mr. Smith would be on this target list, and all they need to target Mr. Smith is a social media post, an email, something that has been transmitted across the World Wide Web that the NSA has intercepted. That creates the psychic bridge between the person who's interfacing with the computer and the victim. So it's essentially a lot like what I was talking about with remote viewing. Now you have a situation where the psychic super soldier that's interfacing with the computer is no different than the person giving a target to the remote viewer. Now, the computer becomes the remote viewer in a sense. So anyway, let's just say I'm the psychic super soldier, and this is my copy of Mr. Smith's emails that the NSA has intercepted. All I have to do is take a look at it. At a subconscious level, my soul which is part of the collective consciousness, has already interfaced with Mr. Smith. Now, that computer is picking this up. So once that person is targeted by the psychic, it then programs the supercomputer. It then has a program, and what it actually creates a file and a program, but it now has your resonant frequency. It's like your soul's phone number at that point. So if you think of your soul as a cell phone, and you think of the collective subconscious as the cellular network, well, the NSA or the Defense Intelligence Agency now has your phone number, at which point they can target you anywhere in the world via satellite, via a GWEN tower, which is ground wave emergency network towers, or a mobile system, or through the Department of Defense and their access to the cellular phone network, because they do have the authority to put whatever technology they want on the cell towers. So they've created a grid of pain and murder to kill everybody that goes against the New World Order and poses a threat to the establishment and the status quo. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. Later on, I'm going to be doing probably a 90-minute interview with my friend Robert on the Typical Skeptic podcast. It should be published probably by tomorrow, so I hope you guys check it out. And I'll see you guys soon. And make sure that you take care of each other, love one another, and keep up the good fight. Take care.